everyone, and welcome to Get Fit with Janice Now. I'm Janice, and I'm with Michelle Market. Michelle Market is a licensed professional counselor and wellness coach, and she specializes in healthy food relationships and building self-esteem with offices in Herndon, Virginia. And we're in her private office today, and we're going to talk about self-esteem and having healthy food relationships. So let's talk about that. So what role does food play in a person's self-esteem?
Well, I think that there's a couple of things we can look at this. In the work that I do, I specialize in eating disorders as well as binge eating. And so I can kind of answer that in two parts. I think for some folks with the eating disorders, it's focusing on a sense of control. It's focusing on an opportunity for not to be in touch with their feelings and emotions.
Yes.
And then when I think about my folks that I deal with that are emotional eaters or binge eaters, it's that, again, not being able to practice self-care, not being able to self-nurture, and also a lot of what's happening in terms of the work that we're doing is really kind of touching on being able to kind of be true to themselves, be authentic, be able to sort of honor feelings and emotions. And so like with the binge eaters, what I'll see a lot from the self-esteem, and for both the eating disorders and the self-esteem and binge eaters, I notice that self-esteem, there's low self-esteem, and it's really helping them to sort of figure out, again, who they are, what's important to them, what are their needs, what are their passions, what are their interests. And so again, it comes back to what we talked about a little while ago about that authenticity and kind of knowing who you are and not using food as a way to cope.
Right. Now, why do we use food to cope with feelings when we're upset, especially like you had a bad date, I'm going to eat like a whole Haagen-Dazs ice cream, you know, something like that. I lost my job, my husband left me, you know.
Right. Well, I think what you tend to find is that people are using that as a way to kind of numb out, to not identify what their feelings are. It's the distraction. So we have this original emotion, you're upset, you're angry, you're disappointed, you're sad, but then using food as a distraction, you know, so I'm not thinking about it, I'm not dealing with it. Well, then we have this perpetual cycle of you have the original emotion, which is I'm upset about losing a job or bad date, but then also that sort of that guilt and shame that goes into, okay, I've overeaten or beaten myself up through food. And so really what it is about learning how to deal with those emotions directly, even coming from the fact of feeling identification. How am I feeling right now in this moment? You know, I had a cruddy time. I'm upset about that. And being able to honor and recognize that as opposed to utilizing the food as a way to kind of escape.
So it's really talking to yourself more. Right. Now, why do some people lose control of food? So say they have the ice cream, but they say, okay, maybe I'll go for some potato chips now. And maybe I'll go over to McDonald's and get a sundae. You know, it's a never-ending thing.
And it can be different for different people. So for some people, if you're coming from a sense of deprivation where, okay, I have to be really good during the week, and I have foods that are off the limits. When you're around those foods that you say, oh, I've already eaten the Haagen-Dazs, might as well eat X, Y, and Z. Again, it sort of cancels out all the work that you're doing. And so I really believe in sort of everything in moderation, legalizing all food, not having food in good categories or bad categories. It's the overeating that results in a very sense of deprivation, or oftentimes undereating can result in sort of that overeating and that sense of feeling out of control.
So now there's bulimia and there's anorexia. This is the opposite. And that's still an eating disorder. You can go overboard or underboard.
Right. And now, thankfully, we're recognizing more in terms of binge eating disorder as well, and you know, and that we're kind of separating that from anorexia and bulimia.
So what is binge eating?
Binge eating is sort of that sense of out of control. It doesn't use the purging behaviors that bulimia uses, and so what folks find is they feel just a sense of out of controlness. They feel uncomfortable with who they are and with themselves, and so it's really being able to help them sort of regain a practice of self-care, self-nurturance, self-acceptance is a lot of what I teach on my binge eating call is about, okay, what, you know, you're upset about something, let's talk about how you can articulate what you're upset about as opposed to using food as escape.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for your wonderful words of wisdom today on self-esteem. So we've been talking with Michelle Market. She's a wellness counselor here in Herndon, Virginia. And I hope our discussion helped you a little bit today on how to feel better about yourself and have higher self-esteem. And thanks for tuning in to Get Fit with Janice now.